we were in the kitchen, and I was cooking something on the stove, and you were at the sink. And our girls were behind us videotaping us, and I didn't realize they were. And they said, "Moms," with an S, and we both turned around at the same time.
I remember that.
And I remember thinking about the profound lesson that taught me. And that is that 2 is better than 1. And that our kids actually think that they have a backup.
They do.
They think they have a backup.
They do.
And it's what's interesting about that is that we've spent our entire life really trying to be ourselves, trying to be unique, and we are unique. We're not the same, and a lot of people still think that we're the same, but we're not. And I think that if you think about that simple lesson and think about what that means to you, is you're being compared to someone else at the same time. I always thought it was unique to us that we were being compared to other people and compared to each other, but everyone's being compared to everybody all the time.
And everything.
And it's something to really think about, because we think that we have a certain role, a certain job to do, that we present ourselves in a certain way, but do we really? Is it clear to other people? Maybe, maybe not. And that's why I think it's so important today, is to really understand, what is it about me that's distinct? What is it that when someone calls my name, I turn around independently of everybody else because it's me? And I think it's something that I think the brands that we work with today and the leaders that we work with today, especially on the brand side, need to double down on.
I think it's a perception thing too. I think internally, just like you said, you know who you are. And you think, I mean, of course you think that other people do, but if you're not always communicating who you are and what you stand for, even though in your mind you think, that's me, it may not resonate with other people.
I just don't know that we're clear about that. I think we evolve, we grow, we learn. There's so much content out there right now. We're influenced by so many different things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we just have to sort of take a check and think to myself or ourselves, wait, where am I? Who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? What makes sense? And to kind of like be grounded again in our own identity. I used to think identity was just how people looked. And I know in the book that one of our books, Stand Out as a Thought Leader, Identity, one of the chapters, one of the fundamentals is about, does the outside of you represent the internal side of you? Mm-hmm. And to me, identity has become one of the most important fundamentals out of all of them, because how we're seen matters. Mm-hmm. And being seen matters. And we can no longer sort of sit in our offices or our home offices or wherever we are. Maybe we're on, a flight to Paris. We have to be seen by the people that need to see us. And that's why I think it's so important to stand out as a thought leader today and to be seen visually, because it matters. There's so much text and content. People need to see the people they need to see.
Mm-hmm. I think people get tired of the email and the text and the WhatsApp and things like that. But I see your point. I think that you really have to understand. And a lot of people with all these new tools, they're going to these tools to tell them when it's already inside you.
Yes.
And I think that's a big mistake that people are doing right now is, it's just like, I remember when the business started in the 90s, we were selling things. We were like saying, hey, this is your ad campaign. This is what you're going to say. This is how you're going to present your brand. But whereas now, we work with we work with our clients to understand them and to understand how they stand out, the difference they make, their distinct advantage, because it comes from within, not outside.
Yeah, well, ChatGPT can't answer that for you, even though it does a really good job thinking it can.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think when again, back in the 90s, let's just say annual reports, leaders showed up with, page 3 in the annual report. They weren't visibly out.
Yeah.
They were in the boardroom, of course, but they weren't
Their
like
photo was there.
visibly out. They may speak at a local conference or something like that, but there's so many ways to be seen today that these leaders can take advantage of that didn't exist back then. And this sort of evolution from the company brand to the brand of a leader, and how it's kind of flipped over, where you have the brand of a leader and the company brand. They're still connected, obviously, but the identity and being seen and understood as you is more important than it ever has been.
And I think it's personality too. The company, it can look pretty cold if there's nobody, a leader, sharing their thoughts and maybe thinking about where their industry is going in the future, or what's happening in their industry, or how they are a leader and what makes them a leader. And it humanizes a company as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
We do a lot of speaker training, and one of the things I've been working on a lot lately is just trying to help people just start, because they think it has to be so perfect. The lighting has to be perfect, the sound has to be perfect.
I don't know what to say.
I need a script or a teleprompter or something like that. Just start. Just like communicate. Come up with a topic and share it. Create 4 videos out of it. Whatever what might be important to you. But being seen in different ways, in different places, saying a consistent message has become just paramount.
It's priceless.
Yeah,
And it keeps things real.
We used to buy that.
Yeah.
We used to buy that awareness through advertising and PR and product placement and partnerships. But today, it's hard to buy influence. It's even there are a lot of influencers out there. Many of them are actually digital twins, so be careful about that. But it's hard to buy it. It has to be real. People know what's real now. And I hope they know what's real for a long period of time, because I think even with what we're doing with digital twins, sometimes you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not. And that's why it's time to get really real.
And your message has to be clear and consistent.
Yeah.
We talked before about keeping it simple. You can't have too much, because you'll lose your audience.
Yeah. I think when you look like someone, people mistake you for someone, you're forced constantly to evaluate, wait a minute,
How you're different.
how do I look to other people? What is it that makes me unique? And fortunately, we've had the opportunity to exercise that muscle for a long time, I'm not going to say how long, and to be able to leverage that experience for other people, because they're inside the jar. They can't see the label on the outside because they're inside. But get clear, be seen, and just let go. A very, very good friend of ours says, better, not perfect. And I just love that statement. She's absolutely amazing. Can't wait for her to launch her platform. But the idea that even perfect doesn't really work that well, because people are like, it's too perfect.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's exhausting. You put them, and all the filters now with all of the social, it's just be real, be yourself, Make a typo. I miss typos.
You miss typos.
I miss typos, because then you're like, oh, well, there's a typo. Now there's no typos. Everything's perfectly written and composed. I kind of miss it.
That's a first.
Yeah, I miss typos. Yeah, it's real. I would guarantee that we're going to see some LLM updates with more little just things that aren't quite perfect, and so they feel more human, more honest. One thing that we did recently was we're working with a speaker in building a speaking platform and thought leader, and we did a transcription of all of her videos so that we could read what she said and kind of pull some of the content out of it and to like build some blogs and things like that. And she read it and was like, I didn't say that. I'm like, yes, you did. You said that. She goes, well, I never say that. I'm like, well, here, yes, you did. It's because when you say things, you're thinking about it differently than when you write things. And one of the things that we've been encouraging people to do is when you're even, let's say you're working with an LLM and you're working to kind of build your agent or develop content pillars, say it into the LLM instead of type it, because you capture that authentic
the
essence of it. Because your words, when you read what you said on video, you're like, how many ums did I say? But it's natural. That's what people do when they talk, and it comes across authentic. Of course, you wouldn't put that many ums in a blog, but you can capture your unique way of saying things through audio when you're building some of these LMs. So, little tip. One of the things I love about our girls, which we don't talk very much about them in public, not that they have to be private, but we have 3 girls, and they're very, very close. They're actually born on the same month, 2 years exactly apart. Just, I guess we were only fertile for 1 month of the year. But that it's been really very interesting to see how unique and different they are. When you have 3 girls born, and I'll say from identical twins, because I think 23andMe thinks your daughter's my daughter.
Olivia's mine.
Yeah. 23andMe got it wrong. But that they have become very unique people, but there's a thread between them that connects to us, where like when you normally have children with someone, they're born, and you always say they're born completely different, but how does that work because they have the same parents? But just imagine that and having the identical twin component to it. So there's a very interesting connectivity between them that doesn't exist in most, I guess, cousins and siblings, which has been interesting to me. And so I think about that a lot. I think about not just the biology of it and the epigenetic aspect of it, but the fact that they've had so many experiences together, because they didn't grow up together, but pretty close together, that those things made them who they are. And I think when sometimes we reach this leadership status in our businesses and we're successful, that we kind of forget those things that we learned growing up, and we miss those connections between the people that had those unique experiences with us. And sometimes it just to go back and think about what are those key moments in my life that actually made me who I am? Who was I with? Who did I share those experiences with? Think about that.
Yeah, but also if you think about your childhood friends, when you go back to see them, you feel the exact same way.
I didn't like any of your friends.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
But if you think about
we had different friends.
We did. But if you think about your childhood friends and you see them, you still feel the same way.
Yeah.
That unique feeling you did when you were a kid.
That would be an interesting thing to take apart and to think about, what is that chemistry? What is that creates that bond, and how do you build that into how you build your brand? I love that idea. Because you know what that's like.
Yeah.
You go see someone that you haven't seen in 10 years, and you're like, it's like been 10 minutes. Like I feel like we've never been apart. There's something to that. And I think that's one thing that our children have. And so when they say moms jokingly, they know we're going to turn around at the same time. Because actually, I don't know. I mean, I guess I do know their voices from apart, but I consider my role and responsibility to also be their mom too. But going back to those childhood connections, and what is it that really built true connection that carried through sometimes tens of years?
when I think about it, it's like a innocence, like a sense of innocence. And obviously, as you grow as a person, you know, you lose a lot of that through life experiences. So I think as an adult, it's more about transparency, like being who you really are and not trying to pretend to be somebody else.
I think it's easy to lose that. And I also think if we think about like today and being a leader and that brand, and you think about, let's just say the brand of you when you were 12, you weren't selling to those people you made connections to. You weren't, there was probably no agenda in how you built that deep relationship with that person. And maybe we've lost the connection between like wanting something from someone in our adult years, especially I'm talking about if you're a thought leader or the brand of a leader, that part of your responsibility is marketing and sales for a company or a product, that maybe there's a way to connect those ideas to be able to think about a new way of influencing that's really tied back to how you created childhood bonds.
Vulnerability too.
Vulnerability,
Too.
life experiences, unique experiences, first time experiences. The first time I ever rode a bike, or the first time we ever learned to play guitar, whatever that might be. You remember that who you were with.
Lasting bonds.
I think that would be an interesting thing.
It's different types of connections.
But it's like an imprint in your mind, like an imprint, like what I refer to when I talk about digital twins and the development of a digital twins. I talk about epigenetics. And epigenetics being, epigenetics, they're like sticky notes on your DNA. And when you have these life experiences, your DNA actually changes. Your genetic code actually is influenced by those. And I think that I just connected that those epigenetic sticky notes, they really probably are more enforcing and enforceable when you're younger.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't think about that. Because that's when you're creating these imprints more, because maybe you have more experiences when you're older or something and they're less memorable, or maybe we can't remember. I don't know, something to that.
We also grew up in a time when things were pretty simple.
There was no Facebook. Really,
No
not even
computer,
really
no Facebook,
TV.
no phone. There's no cell phone.
Yeah. We could get away with a lot. Can't do that anymore. Anyway, I do think, though, that those times in the kitchen when we're together and we have just this moment of clarity about what it means to be unique is something that we can bring into our daily lives. We're lucky to have that perspective, and I'm grateful for our girls to give us that.
Moms.
Moms. See you next time.
Bye.